Wow. How are you, John?
I'm
Rusty.
good, bud.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 239 of the FLA Exposure Podcast, sponsored by a good friend, Mr. Donaire. Made locally. Support them. Check them out online, mrdonaire.ca. John, my good friend. How are you, bud?
Good, man. Good to be back home after another successful weekend and, great bunch of fights. Good to see everybody again. And, finishing off 2024 with a bang. Great Coliseum crowd, man. I mean, what can we say? The Coliseum's always awesome, and looking forward to being back there in February.
Yeah, it's our home. I think we were talking about before the show, 8 shows I think now we put on at the Coliseum. That's 8 times.
In a bunch.
It's been a bunch, and I think back to the first time we did that big arena, FLA 2, it was when we moved from Nova Scotia over to that arena, and we had like 380 people, 380 tickets total sold. Easily could have gave up and just been like, man, this isn't going to work, right? And now look,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome to see everybody, all of our crew, and everybody still just enjoying it, and it's pushing forward because of that. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the crew killed it, man. Like, even just cage setup, we were talking about how much time's been knocked off of that. Everyone's getting really good at their jobs, and it makes for a much more enjoyable weekend, much more enjoyable time. And as it gets bigger and bigger, there's more moving parts, and yeah, I mean, it's just great, man. We're lucky to have so many people that are loyal and just good friends that help us out, right? Tommy and the cage guys and everyone else just kills it.
Oh man, that's what people don't really realize. Like, it's, for us, it's to do 5 or 6 events a year and have people that want to continuously show up and support you is huge. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Moving on to the show, like you said, John, awesome fights, man. What do you think, top to bottom, buddy?
Top to bottom, I thought it was overall really good. It was interesting, man. Like, the way it went, there wasn't a single knockout. We regularly see 3 or 4 knockouts or TKOs on a card. All the guys that are usually knocking people out were submitting people. A lot of decisions, but the decisions were exciting for the most part. I mean, obviously, we're going to go from bottom to top here on what we think. I finished watching the replay again last night. It's just, everything's kind of a blur the night of. You see things a certain way, and it's nice to watch it back with a fresh set of eyes and just see what's up. And of course, I always like to watch the pay-per-view show, man. And, Tim and Chris on the mics were awesome, and Danny's work behind the scenes is just incredible, man. And it looked very good, very smooth, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to beat it. We don't talk about it a lot, but because we're not those kind of people. We're pretty humble people, but we really have a great thing going here in the East Coast to really make our presence known in Canada, and to be kind of the first time ever in Canada, the East Coast is really like, we're never ever going to say, we're the best, we're the number one, whatever, but we're certainly putting on great events and with great athletes that are really on the cusp of doing great things from amateur to pro. So it's phenomenal to see, man. The coaches, the teams are thriving, gyms are thriving, and the whole scene is
That's
thriving.
a big thing, man. It was always so hard to find a platform to compete on. Years ago, things were, hit or miss. A lot of things were canceled. Yeah. Things were going on with the commissions in different provinces, different points in time. New Brunswick couldn't do events for a while. Nova Scotia couldn't do events for a while. And now that we're back, we're just trying to put the greatest platform on for these guys that we can, and the level and the performances. I mean, the amateurs stole the show again this time, man. Like, these guys came on and put the best fights on of the night. And thanks, Ben, buddy.
Ben Lease.
Yeah, the man himself.
Pitcher, by the way. Amazing. I love it.
That's the best.
Yeah.
But they stole the show, and they looked really good, man. It was it's impressive. Like, it's not the same as it was 10, 15 years ago. Like, the level across the board is elevated to a much higher level. And it's our job, I guess, to showcase these guys the best we can, and that's what we're doing. We're up in the level every time, and so are the athletes. So it's been working out good, and we're going to just keep it going, man. 2025 is going to be just as big or bigger.
Yeah, carry each other, and we definitely have some surprises in store for everybody as we move into 2025, and it's going to be awesome. I'm pumped for this year and pumped for a lot of things that we have to announce for people and just to our fans in general. Different spots and different things we're going to bring to the table and different fights that are upcoming. So a lot of talented athletes, man, that are, like we said, moving forward in their career. And this year we might just see them, who knows what's going to happen. Might be some title
Yeah.
fights. Who really knows? So
Yeah, that's it, eh? There's always a bunch of matchups to be made after a show, especially like this. Like we really went heavy on the 35-pound division. That's one of the most exciting divisions. Moving that forward, and as guys gain experience, we're turning more and more guys pro. They're deciding to move up and starting to develop that more as well. Like obviously the pros are few and far between compared to where the amateurs are at now, but Jesus, man, between now and FLA 1, the amount of guys available and like you said, the gyms are pumping. I know even in Abaya now, I've got a bunch of other guys that are coming up looking to make debuts sometime probably in 2025. And yeah, it just didn't exist a few years ago because there was really nowhere to compete.
Exactly. And I talk, again, like outside of the, like talking to agents or people, like our athletes are still kind of new, like our pros, like four or five pro fights at the highest level. And
yeah,
that's relatively pretty new in the grand scope of the world scene. And so it's
of course
eventually in another couple years, it's even going to double what we are now, because you're going to see, hopefully, eventually the goal is for pros locally to be fighting pros locally. We don't want to be spending all this money flying people in all the time. Like eventually we should have our own scene that can support itself in each.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it was a lot more like that years ago when there was a lot more pros fighting and a lot more guys on the scene. But they've aged out and retired, and a lot of these guys that we used to see, in the older promotions, they're the coaches now that are working with the new up and coming guys. But even the amateurs, like most of them only have 1, 2, 3 fights. A few of the guys that have been fighting with us for years have 4, maybe 5. So it's just still in such an early stage of development. So
yeah,
you know,
we'd not love nothing more. You see people in the States, some promotions, they bang off 10, 15 cards in a year. And it's like, for us, that's just not possible. Like people, like
no,
you look at population bases in city that have millions of people in an hour or two drive of a radius of events on Fridays. Us, we just don't have the population. People are driving 4 or 5 hours to come to our events in some cases. So it draws from all 3 provinces, 4 provinces sometimes in some cases, and it's a different thing. But opportunities are there for people who are licensed, people who are putting on great fights, and people who are doing the right things for sure. So
and we've said it 10 million times. Like if you're ready to go and you're licensed and you make it easy, those are the people we want to work with, man. Like we don't want to be chasing guys around, get their medicals finished. If you want to fight, show up ready and prove it.
Yeah, it's such a, like, it's like, like we said this weekend, like as an employer or anything like that, like if you're a pain in the ass, who wants to work with you and hire you? It doesn't. Our time's busy. John's time, we're both extremely busy. We don't want to be babysitting you. So if it's once is cool. We don't mind helping you out. Twice, whatever, we're more than willing to. But 3 times, man, come on, get your shit together.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's get
bro.
into the break, man.
Let's do it.
Like, I want to talk to you about this. Obviously, your guy, first fight of the night, Dustin Gunter versus Jake Seward, is your guy. Talk to me about, like, you give me your opinion, and I'll give you mine.
Yeah, my opinion actually changed a little bit after I rewatched the fight. I told Jake on the stool after the second round, like, I think you probably got to finish this guy to come away with the win. After watching it back again, I think Jake probably won the first 2 minutes of the first round, gave Dustin the end of the round, which obviously, perceptive wise, good on the judges for not just judging on the last 30 seconds. Second round was probably Dustin, and then third round, I think, was pretty much all Jake. Dustin didn't really do anything to cause damage, Corey, you were right. The split in his cheek, I think, was from a headbutt. I think he headbutted the back of Jake's head. They clashed heads on one of the grappling exchanges, but Dustin didn't land a single punch, man. I think he threw one and missed, and Jake threw a lot of knees and hit him a few times. Both guys came out pretty gassed in the third round, man. I mean, it's a good thing the conditioning was at the level it was, but Dustin had a great game plan. He just mitigated risk by diving on the legs. And yeah, I thought it was an awesome fight for both these guys. Like, they made their debut, they put their money where their mouth is, and had a full 9 minutes of experience, and really utilized. Like, it was one of the things we talked about afterwards. Like, man, everything we did in camp, the wall work, the getting up, the jiu-jitsu, the boxing, the kickboxing, was really all utilized in that fight. And it was awesome, man. And it was fun to coach across from John Williams, someone I competed against years ago on your show, and on Sub Series 1, and he's just a great dude, and yeah, that's where I come from on that one. But I'm obviously a little bit biased. I feel like a 30-27 was ridiculous for both those guys. I could see a 29-28 split for Jake for sure.
Yeah, I don't. It was. I'm always interested. Again, like judging. I'm not. You never. It's such an extremely difficult thing to judge. It's really, really a hard sport with a lot of moving parts and a lot of different technical aspects. But I really believe that, and this is just my opinion, but I really believe if you're a judge, you should have some sort of training background when it comes to grappling, because it's extremely hard to know positions if you don't.
It almost seemed like one of the judges was very grappling heavy, and another judge was more striking heavy.
Yeah,
out of the three.
Yeah, I'm not
throughout the night.
Yeah. It's interesting. And again, I'm not. It's a very difficult thing. I certainly wouldn't want to be in the position. So anybody who ever, questions judging or anything, or officiating, put yourself in their shoes, because they're doing it for the love of the sport, and they're trying their best, and that's all. At the highest level, my concern with it all is it's world level, local level. There's not a lot being done to make it better, and we have this problem at the regional and the world level, and there's not being a lot done to necessarily fix that. But either way, man, great fight to start the card, and both guys, I was really impressed with both of them. It seemed like Dustin got a little tired. I think to me, I would think, I could be wrong, but I think Dustin should go down. I don't know. He's a thick guy, but he looks like he could maybe do 135, or Jake.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Yeah,
45er. It looked like just he was carrying a lot. Like Jake kind of made him tired after, like the amount of grappling. It looked like.
Well, it was just such a grueling
Yeah.
fight, man. Like all that cage wrestling and all the grappling. Like Jake said, his arms were pretty heavy in that third round. He wished he would have separated more and thrown more strikes.
Like he was.
What's that?
He wasn't showing it as much. He was still throwing.
No. I think he was definitely in better shape. Like, believe me, he showed up partway through camp and got tired one night, and I let him know that was unacceptable. And he just worked his ass off, man. And that, that's a huge part of it is conditioning. Like, you've got adrenaline and nerves, plus everything's at 100%. You're wrestling as hard as you can. You're punching as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. I mean,
I was interested because Dustin's, like, when he kickboxed, he didn't fight like that. So this fight,
well, we thought he would at least stand up a little bit, man.
Yeah.
He wanted nothing to do with getting hit. To be honest, we were ready for anything. We knew Jake's stand-up was going to be better, his boxing especially, without ever seeing any of it. But we just, confident in that ability. But, everyone talked about how freakishly strong Dustin was, but that didn't turn out to be factual. I mean, Jake's a strong, 45er as well. But, after camp, man, he was not a big 45er. Like, he was, I was getting him to slow his cut down because he was going to be coming in too low.
Much to me, but maybe, just cage side or whatever it was, he just looked much bigger inside the cage.
Yeah, just the shape of him, and Dustin being a little bit shorter, man, he towered over him a little bit, right?
Yeah, but either way, man, great fight for both guys, and I'd love to see both of them back. Of course, great to see John.
Absolutely.
John and Brian Masvidal there, Flow State. Both those guys, done a lot for the community, and it's great to see them.
And great lead up, man. And both guys, Jake and Dustin, had some great moments, and they were just, great guys to compete against, man. That's what you like. There's no animosity. Everyone was cool, and it was a fun fight.
Yeah, I agree. Fight 2 was
Brandon and Brandon.
Oh yes.
And This one went to unanimous decision for Brandon Murphy. You know, it makes him 1-1 now after coming in with a loss against Sentner the first time. But Jesus, man, O'Blaine has cracked him a whole bunch of times. Like, he can take a shot, I'll give him that. But this was another situation where, you know, Brandon Murphy seemed to do a little bit more in the grappling department. I don't think he won the stand-up exchanges, but he got the decision, right? You know, O'Blaine has landed some powerful shots, man. I will give him that all day. It's yeah, these guys managed to stay on the feet was surprising.
Yeah, he's a brick, no question about it. Like, guys, like, he's fighting fires. He's not coming through the door. He's going through the wall. You know, he's like,
yeah, that must be what makes him so calm, eh?
playing in the Kool-Aid man of Linus. He just goes right through. So
Yeah.
man, he looked great, very good shape. Like you said, man, throwing those bombs. But Brandon Murphy, super composed, man. Like, was not like in the least like.
Yeah.
I was watching.
He took everything.
Man, he was like just on the ball and really like, yeah, you know, he came back and for a guy who really hasn't grappled that long, to be completely honest, like, he just started grappling at like MMA grappling with Sprawler Ball not too long ago. So he looked pretty good, man. He really did. Like, he didn't do anything super technical, but he got the fight to where he needed to win, which I was very surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great fight.
Yeah, there was a lot of action in this one. I mean, another decision, unanimous decision for Murphy. But yeah, I thought both guys had their moments, and I thought O'Blaine has really landed some awesome shots, and good on both of them for showing up and putting it all out there, man.
Yeah. Oh man, he's a stud, that kid, and I think it's nice. 170 pounds. Like, we've been struggling with it for a long time, so it's nice to see we're starting to get, you know, 5 or 6 guys who are amateur 160 pounds. We got Kyle Sutherland out there who's looking for a fight still. So there's lots of guys coming up in that division, and that's what we want. So awesome.
Yeah, we haven't seen Kyle in a while.
No. So Robin Inman, I guess, with event 6-3. Well, you did well, my man. Awesome. Great job. Thanks for your support as always, sir. Next fight was
Carlin and Drew.
Carlin and Drew. Awesome.
Working hands. Great nickname.
It is a good Cape Breton, a good old Cape Breton nickname.
Yeah, man. Those guys, the two islands tend to line up fairly often, it seems, you know, just pumping out talent out of both places. So, you know, I mean, the night went to Cape Breton and NPI in this one. I mean, both teams were successful, but Drew McPhee, I mean, this kid's a stud, and this, you know, this is a guy who comes out, knocks a guy out first fight, second fight, first round submission. You know, and Carlin had his moments, landed some shots, but once Drew lifted him up over his head and put him down with that massive takedown, he took over in the grappling department and got it done, man. Like, he's very composed for someone who's so new, and Carlin too. Like, I thought these guys looked just like they'd been in there multiple times, you know, more than they have been, and you know, just kind of calm above their experience. So it was awesome to see, and I hope to see both of them back soon. I mean, I know we had some things we were hoping to do with Drew in 2025, but we'll see.
Yeah, great fight, man. Like you said, both super composed, and very impressed with both of them. Carlin, we'll definitely see back. Drew, we'll see back as well, and yeah, it's a great fight, man. Awesome, love to see it. And
it was good, man.
Finish the fight, you know, in both ways. You know, like, you finish a fight on the feet, you know, that's what you want. You want exciting guys who are finishing fights, and again, Drew's a great kid behind the scenes and super easy to deal with. So we'll see what happens.
Enzo Gracie with Matt and the boys, you know, good to see them continue their success. Oh yeah, Brett Maloney and Rashik Chowdhury, man. This Rashik kid has got some hands on him. It was a good thing Breton had the wrestling, because when he let his hands and feet go, Rashik looked very sharp, I will say. His kickboxing looked very, very good, and he's absolutely a dangerous individual. Breton had the perfect plan. I mean, you know, I don't know if he broke his nose, but he had a nosebleed pretty early on, and it was having a hard time breathing through his nose for sure. When you listen to him in the post-fight interview, he's constantly trying to keep his nose from bleeding and breathing through his mouth.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, after that first exchange, he got cracked in the nose, and you can see his nose just dripping a little bit. But man, he stuck on the wrestling and took over in the grappling. You know, he did what he had to do. It was a perfect game plan, and the kid was just awesome on the microphone as well. I gotta say, he called everyone out. He told them what's up with the wrestling. So, I mean, Brett Maloney, he's a guy that we need to get back in there, and Rashik as well. I'd like to see Rashik back. I feel like he's got some more he can show, and dude, his striking just looked really really good. He was very crisp, and yeah, Bretton did what he had to do, and to move to 1-1, man. Like he came off a quick loss. That's super hard in the head. It just shows you how tough this kid is mentally. He's obviously a competitor with a wrestling background, and just a class act all the way. So
Well, he's coming
yeah.
under TJ. He's learning the right way, things the right way. How to act, how to talk, how to. There's certain ways. It's like in MMA, it's sometimes it's not spoken about as much. But like if you go in the Halifax Mooseheads and you're 16 years old, there's a person there who teaches you how to speak, how to do a post fight interview, how to do or interview, how to represent yourself, and if you don't, see you later. And MMA, it's a little bit different because it's a fight game, blah, 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 blah. But in the amateur level,
Mhm.
if you want to get noticed, especially, and even a young pro career, if you want to get noticed, learn how to do things the right way. And exactly like you said, man, great fight, great composure, finished the fight, took the fight where he needed to, and finished it. Great post speech. Rashik, I'm looking for someone to scrap, he said. So, there's guys out there on a card soon. But again, like you said, man, phenomenal fight. Nice to see Breton even up the record, and I'm sure we'll see Rashik do the same soon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, another first round sub on this fight with Breton, and good fight for both these guys. If it would have went longer, I'm sure we would have seen a lot more out of Rashik. But you know, did his best, man. He showed up and he fought his ass off. So congrats to both those guys.
Yeah, he was. I'll give that guy credit. Like he was struggling with his medicals a little bit, but he was very, very keen to
He got it done.
listen, and he really worked his ass off to get them done. So I'll give him credit there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean the Island kickboxing guys, man, under Lenny and them, they can bang.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving up to 55 pounds. Was that sorry?
Oh, we're lagging a little bit here, I think. But you go for it. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I'm just kidding. All right, Anton and Shion coming up next. We thought this was going to be a barn burner striking match. Anton did get a couple shots off in the beginning, but Shion's plan, which worked, was get him down and utilize his grappling. When he first got him down, when he first took down Anton did everything right. He got his back to the mat, and popped back up, but Shion just stayed on him, got him back down, and he exposed his back, and that was it, man. Shion, another guy we thought was going to be a knockout fight. As he's done in the past, 2 knockouts in a row, and now he gets a submission in round 1. All these guys that have been winning by TKO or winning by submission on this card, which was just incredible. It just shows you how well-rounded they are, and it's MMA, man. It's not kickboxing, so you gotta know a bit of everything, and sometimes you just gotta fight smart, right? I mean, we know where Anton's most dangerous. He's long, he's rangy, and he's a really good boxer. So good on Shion, man. Kid's a star.
It was a great performance, man. Like that kid's he's a shit brick house, man. Like he is made of muscle. He is like the kid's got a lot of star quality, big time star quality. He's well spoken, great. Another guy who's well educated, good looking, athletic. Everything about this kid really pumps out star quality, and super humble. Took the fight where he needed to, and man, once he got it there, it was just like, no, you're not going anywhere. And Anton,
he was a dog on a bone
just
once he got his hands on him.
He was, man. He was. And Anton, these kids, they're just wonderful, too respectful, great young athletes who understand, they went in there and both of them at the end of the fight super respectful to one another. And like I said to Anton, I said, like, I'd love to see you get out there, start competing in some more jiu-jitsu tournaments. Like, you can't, and I'm not saying this is Anton at all, like, at all. Like, I love this kid, and he's got a ton of, like, crispy, man. He's got a bright future, but I'd like to see him grapple a little bit more in like as 3 times a week. Really make it your life.
I think he
You know
shows a
what I
lot
mean?
of potential on the ground. Like some of the things he were doing were really good. He
Yeah.
just made a fatal
And
flaw, and that gave Shion the opportunity, right? Once he got flattened out, man, super hard to deal with, right?
yeah. And I think he's another one. He hasn't been grappling that long, man. Like he really
Mhm.
hasn't, right? So all the things he was doing right. Like he's a super smart kid, and like you said, man, potential. I think he, another 6 months, that kid's gonna be a whole different athlete for sure. So it was
No
awesome.
question.
Great fight by
No
both guys.
question. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did our intermission and we came back. We had we got into the advanced amateur fights. This was our number one title contender for 135. Like I said, we're building that division. So back at 35, Jesse Opper, he's 2-2 coming into this fight. He's got 2 fights put together in a row, 2 wins in a row. We know Jesse's a super high level grappler. I think he's a brown belt. But he's competed an absolute ton. And James Richardson, 1-1, dropped his first one, came back with a good, solid win, and stepped up to fight Jesse. James looked really, really sharp on the feet. I think definitely his striking was crisper, more technical than Jesse's. But Jesse's grappling is what won him the fight, man. Like James did the right things to stop from getting submitted, but Jesse was like on those takedowns again, like a dog on a bone, and just relentless. And both these guys, luckily for them, came in phenomenal shape because it was an absolute grueling fight. And I think this was probably the fight of the night, honestly, in my opinion. Just a great show by both these guys. They're both super talented. Jesse's evolving. His striking is getting better. Like he did drop James in the first round, I think it was. And, James is evolving as well. But, it's hard to grapple a brown belt if you've been training for, half the amount of time or whatever it might be. So good on him for mitigating risk and making it to the end. But he did drop the unanimous decision to Jesse in the end. He was on a 3-fight run, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it's
You hear
pretty
any of
awesome
that?
for Jesse, man. Like I said,
Mhm.
yeah, we're definitely lagging a lot. But like I said to Jesse, after the kid wears his heart and soul on his sleeve. Him and Sarah both, they work so hard at chasing their
Mhm.
goals and following their dreams. And I could see him like watching, watching him before the fight, and he was just like, you could just see how
In the
determined
zone.
and driven, man, like he really was. And James, like, I don't know. To me, James didn't look himself in there. I don't
No.
like, obviously Jesse looked really good. James looked a little slow in there to me. He
Oh,
didn't look,
man.
but again, compared to Connor Sorensen in his first fight, it was kind of a similar fight to what Jesse did, right? Put him on his back. And I thought he might keep the fight standing. Obviously, Jesse's a phenomenal grappler, but I thought, to be honest, James might be able to get back to his feet a little bit more than he did. But Jesse looked really, really good, man, and James just couldn't keep him off him. He was standing kind of in front of him and blasting those double leg takedowns, and
Yeah.
it was
No,
a great
I thought
fight.
James'
Against, like
striking
you said.
actually looked really sharp, man. But yeah, it was just hard to deal with Jesse. He's just all over you, man. And he was not giving up on the grappling, which was
Yeah.
just super smart, man. I mean, mitigate risk, but Jesse might have landed the better shots too. Like he's just a little bit wilder and loopier, but he did crack him and drop him at once. And yeah, both these guys,
It was a really good fight for both guys because
really
like
good
it's
fight, man, and just
a
a hell of a
win for
pace.
Jesse. Yeah, and a phenomenal fight for James too, to put on his, like, it's a shitty loss, whatever, but at the
Of
amateur
course.
level, a really good fight against a high level grappler like that is just all gonna, you go back to the lab so much better. That kid's phenomenal, and
Yeah.
I loved it. Great fight.
And young, like tons of potential, you know, and I gotta give another shout out to Jesse, man. Like he started his amateur career at 0-2, but he didn't let it get to him. And now he's on a 3-fight winning streak. Like,
Yeah.
you know, those defeats are hard on the head, especially in this sport where you're not going to go play another game the next weekend. You're going to be sitting thinking about it for quite a while, and perseverance has paid off, man.
Very much so. Yeah, and that's the same thing you're going to see from James. The exact same thing. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? He just lost, and then he might come back and rattle off a couple of victories, right? So, yeah, great fight for both of
exactly.
them. So moving on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. Let's move on. Yeah. All right, man. Then we got into this one. Chris O'Toole and Liam Campbell. Of course, everyone, you know, was kind of on the edge of their seat for this one. We've only seen Chris once briefly. Looked extremely dominant, but Liam's been on the scene for a long time. You know, he's been competing in MMA and grappling and everything else forever. Another guy out of Cape Breton, and but O'Toole, man, you know, there's another guy we thought was going to knock somebody out probably, or at least that is what he'd be going for. And he got a submission in round one. But geez, I mean, he drops Liam with a jab, got on his neck, and then Liam did everything right in the scrambles. But Jesus Christ, Chris O'Toole's cartwheeling over him and doing everything else like a giant cat. Just never let go of his neck. I mean, eventually he picked him up from off. He was sitting with Liam in front of him and just picks the guy up. This massive 200-pound man plus, right? And puts him up against the fence and finishes an arm in guillotine, which is anyone that's grappled know is much harder to finish than just the guillotine on the neck. So Jesus Christ, who's going to fight this kid? I mean, that's the biggest challenge for Chris O'Toole right now is getting people to fight him so he can progress his career. And Liam, you know, I hope he gets back in there again too, man, because anybody else is going to have a lot of trouble with him. And you know, sometimes you just end up getting beat, and that's all there is.
For sure. You know, that like I said to Liam, man, like that was a win for Liam to get back in the cage there alone. It's been such a long time for him to get back in the
Mm-hmm.
cage, and I couldn't be prouder of the guy. To see him in there, and just Sprawler Brawl's doing cool things down in Cape Breton, man. Like showing up, 20 deep as a team, and it's like you and I were talking
Yeah,
about, to see all these big teams show up as groups. It's awesome to see. So I'm really proud of Liam. It's not the outcome he wanted, obviously, but he stepped in there and faced his demons and took on a rising star who's obviously 10 years younger than Liam, and put on, it takes two to tango. So
yeah,
Chris is Chris, man. Like he's the Chris the refrigerator O'Toole. He is like anybody who is like good luck, like he's just a beast in there. But I will say there's some other kids in the local scene who are just as talented, who are looking to possibly, face that test. So we'll see what happens, man. But it's I'm excited to see what happens for Chris, and I think you're going to see Liam. You might see him in amateur again. You might see him go to pro, and maybe down to 185. I think would suit him better as well.
yeah, yeah. He's definitely done some work, man. He's lost a lot of weight over the last while and got himself back in shape. So, like you said, just getting back in there after such a long layoff, like that's step one, and then now he can make the decision, do what he wants. But that's a deep team out there at Sprawl and Brawl, and you know, just having someone with his experience to work with the up and comers is massive for them as well. So, you know, great job, Liam, and thanks for coming out and making weight, and congrats to Chris, man. What can you say, right? Onwards and upwards. And awesome on the
Yeah,
mic. Chris
yeah,
is
it
a
really is.
beast on the microphone.
Yeah, sign the contract. That was
I'd be
fun.
like, hell no.
That was pretty fun. Yeah, yeah. Take that pen and shove it up your ass.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Now, I mean, I don't know what to say about this fight. Everyone expected this was going to be an absolute barn burner. It turned out to be one of the most disappointing fights we've probably ever seen in the cage. It's what can I say? Like Matt did a lot to control the fight. He landed a ton of shots. He definitely marked up Rob. Couldn't get the finish, surprisingly enough, but Rob didn't really do much. For everyone that saw it knows what happened. And when you see a guy like Rob, you expect to swing some punches. He threw some strikes a little earlier on, first and second round, but in the end, he's pulling guard and falling on the floor and spent most of his match in turtle, just doing as little as possible to survive. And yeah, I mean, no doubt Matt got the unanimous decision. Some 30-26s in there, which is I don't think we've ever seen before. So yeah, I don't really know what to do, to say about this one, man. It was not what we expected, but I mean, Matt, maybe if he would have put it up into second or third gear, he could have, got a finish. But both guys, Matt did, I feel, kind of like as little as possible to win, and Rob did as little as possible to survive. So.
Well, I think really two people like have to really be realistic when we're watching here as well. Like like it's like the Mike Tyson Jake Paul thing. Like eventually, like we're watching guys who are 20 years old versus Rob, who's 41 or what, like he's got miles on him. Like he's put a lot of miles. He's got a lot of fights. Put a lot of time in the sport. So, and his last fight was a year ago. So there's a little rust in there for sure. But it's it's just one of those things, man. Like time is nobody's friend for sure. And I don't know, man.
It takes two to tango, like you said, right? It's yeah. I mean,
to me, like it was a disappointing fight for the fans, and I'm not like, I'm not a fighter. I'm not getting in there, and I don't like to shit on anybody, but yeah, it was definitely not what we expected for sure. But again, things happen. So
yeah, Matt did land a lot of like a very diverse striking range. He landed a lot of good elbows, lots of knees to the body and stuff. I mean, Rob's tough as hell. He took everything dished out to him and didn't really seem like he was anywhere close to being, finished in the fight. But he just didn't do enough to get up and turn things around. And Matt just couldn't finish the fight.
I was happy to see Matt multiple times. Well, they were asking for the fight to be stood up. So instead, Matt just let him up.
Rob turned around and said to Matt, well, Rob went, I thought this was going to be a kickboxing fight. And Matt let him up, and then Rob fell on his ass again and pulled guard. It's like, you can talk all you want, man, but you're in the fight. You should do something. Anyway. It is what it is, man. On to the next one. This was a great fight. I really enjoyed watching this one. Morgan Rhinus, of course, moving up to 145 to fight Carlos Espinosa, coming out of Tampa Bay by way of Cuba. Like, Carlos is a beast, man. When we saw this guy at weigh-in, it was like, God damn, like, it's a dangerous-looking individual. And Morgan finally let his hands go. Is basically what won him the fight. He hit Carlos with a lot of good shots, had him busted up on both sides of his face. His lead leg was beat up all the way around. It had like a red ring around it, basically, from inside and outside kicks. But Morgan was backpedaling the whole time, and Carlos was continuously chasing him around, moving. Like, this guy's tough as hell, and just continued to be dangerous for all 3 rounds. Morgan gets the unanimous decision in the end, no question there, I don't think. But it was an exciting fight, very high level. And Morgan was just quicker and landed a lot of shots. I was shocked, actually, with some of the things he landed that Carlos didn't go down. It just shows the resilience and the toughness that guy has in him, man. Like, he was just a dog, and good for Morgan, man. He's got 2 in a row now, and he's on an upswing. I mean, he fought Kalidas and dropped that decision there, and maybe that was the rub he needed to turn it around and move his career forward. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's it was a much better version of Morgan, no question about it. It's some questionable, like I was confused. Like, I was talking to somebody about, like, he was lighting Carlos up and then he would grapple. So to me, it was like, keep lighting him up. you know, but again, I'm not a coach, and you know, I'm just a event organizer. So, but from
Yeah.
a perspective of like a fan and like to watch his progression, man, he did really, really well. And Morgan, I don't care what anyone says, Morgan is super fun to watch. Morgan is a
Oh,
fun
dude,
fighter to
like,
watch. He's
yeah.
very like if no one can really seem to take him down, he's very, very difficult to get to the ground. And he's not no slouch on the ground, but he's fun to watch, man. He engages and like I've been impressed with him lately, man. And he's, you know, I love having him signed to FLA, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Carlos,
That was a great fight.
sorry,
Yeah, no, yeah.
I know we're lagging, but Carlos again, like his team. Shout out to Vince, his coach, Daniel, his coach, Kai's in Tampa. Awesome people to deal with, super classy. It's not the last time you're going to see that man up here in the last of that team. So, shout out to Daniel LaFond at Samurai MMA for helping that make that happen. And yeah, so awesome fight for the fans, and love it.
Yeah, yeah, that was probably up there with fight of the night contender, with Jesse and James. All right,
Yeah, I
man.
agree.
Moving on to the main event. I mean, this was a 170 fight, pro division, of course. Pat Carroll and Ryan Rohovich, two guys we saw on FLA 16. Moving it ahead now. You know, Pat coming off a win, Ryan coming off a loss. Um, but like, I mean, Rohovich has a lot of experience. He came in at 5-7 against Pat 5-2. Um, Rohovich got the split decision in the end. It was stylistically very different. Like Rohovich has that karate type style. He likes to hit and move, hit and run, and Carroll was just kind of chasing him around the cage most of the fight. Rohovich got a couple takedowns. Pat, showed his experience on the ground and managed to mitigate any risk and get back up every time. And I think Pat landed the better shots, the harder shots, but Ryan landed a lot of different things. He landed elbows, knees, triple jabs, and some great kicks. And it was just stick and move all night. And that must have been what got him the win, right? But a split decision shows you how close it was. I know, the crowd and everyone else. Um, a lot of different opinions on how this one went, but these guys put it all out there, man. And when they stood in the middle and 10 seconds left and just went for it, like they really won everyone over in the stadium and finished this card off with a nice, explanation point. And appreciate both these guys for putting it on the line, man. Like they both fucking teed off on each other and did what they had to do. It was a grueling battle, man. All 3 rounds again. And yeah,
Yeah,
Rolovich back in the
definitely.
win column, man.
Yeah, it's like we go back to our conversation about judging. Like we
Hmm.
can critique it all we want, but do you want to be the judge sitting there at the end of that main event with this many people waiting for the decision? I know I don't want to be. So, like in those kind of tough fights that are super close like that, like it's really a hard thing, I'm sure, to do. And both of those athletes, like you said, John, well said, man. They both put it on the line. The fans were certainly appreciative of their efforts. It's a super fun fight for everybody, and very two
Hmm.
distinct styles. And from two guys who have like done a ton. Pat's been, he's a staple name, a guy who's been involved in this community and will be involved in this community as long as
Yeah,
he is around. So himself and Ryan Rohovich, the same in Saskatchewan. So it was awesome,
yeah,
man, and awesome to see the development through the card, from novice to advanced amateur right up to the pro. And yeah, great
yeah.
night, man.
Seasoned bros. It was a great night.
Yeah,
It was one of our longer shows, and it was a killer way to go out on 2024, man. Like it's kind of funny when we put the schedule out for the new year, like that's our second full year now. It's always seems like such a daunting thing. And then we just, truck along all year, first show, second show, third show, and here we are. We finished off 2024 back at the Coliseum, where we start the year, and we'll be back there in February, man. And, the February card, as we both know, is coming together in a big way. Um, and beyond that as well, like, we get way ahead of these things, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
just,
you really have
thanks
to.
again.
Like,
Go ahead, bro.
yeah, it's like you said. Yeah, we're lagging big time. Um, I like you said, man. Like, you just have to be way ahead of this. So if anybody's looking to fight, I would get your name in probably a year in advance, because the bigger our scene grows, the more certain people we're going to push, and the more fights we're going to have, and you're going to really have to stand out. And by standing out, we mean having your medicals done, being easy to deal with, and really putting on exciting fights. And not that we want to, but it's just that's how it works. Unfortunately, it's business with the limited amount of opportunities that we're able to provide. So make
Mhm.
yourself known. But yeah, like Johnny said, we're FLA 18, man. They just keep getting bigger and badder. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, these storylines develop as, more and more guys gain experience and new guys come onto the scene, and, we're seeing all the teams growing, we're seeing fresh guys come up. We regularly have coaches talking about the new guy that they're working with, and he's gonna be ready at some point, and yeah, it's just awesome, man, like, thanks to the athletes and the coaches and everyone running the venues and everyone else, fantastic.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's something else. Hard to believe you're just these weekends, they fly by, but it's you wouldn't trade it for the world, the rush of it. And as a
Mhm.
community, we have, like I said earlier in the broadcast, we have an incredible opportunity to continue doing great things out here. And I'm a firmer believer. I'm a firm believer by like the next couple of years, we really are like, you know,
Yeah,
be showing people internationally like what's going on here. So the sky's the limit, everybody. So keep on trucking, and like Johnny said, we love you all. And any final words, John?
just keep squirting out talent.
Love it, love it. We didn't screw finishes this weekend. 4 finishes, 6 decisions. Like you said, 10 fights,
Yeah, it
man.
was it was
One of the
kinda
biggest.
wild how it went. Yeah, yeah. Bunch of
Yeah,
first
it
round
really was.
submissions and a
But
bunch of decisions, like, who could have bet on that?
not me, that's for sure.
No. No, sir.
Oh,
Well,
here we
man,
got a question here.
oh, here we go.
Whoa, we got our first
There was
question.
14
12
fights
up.
on
Is it
this card,
possible that
Ryan. Yeah, we wish.
becoming popular? So we had 10 fights on this card. To be honest, I'll tell you the truth. We started with 16
Yeah.
matchmaking, and it ended up at 10. 10.
Well, 2 weeks out, I think we
We're
have
always shooting
14
for like,
still.
yeah,
Yeah.
like 10 to 8 to 10 is what we're shooting for. Otherwise, like we don't want to keep anybody there over 3 hours. 3 hours
Yeah,
is
I
a
think that
long
was a
enough event
four-hour
if it's for.
show. That was a long time, yeah. So,
So
yeah.
that's
But,
why
yeah, we're booking tons of fights, and there's always a bunch that fall through, like, the way Elmsdale went, I mean, Jesus, we ended up with 6 fights in the end. We started again with 12 or 13, and, unfortunately, just the way it shakes out, it's very unpredictable. I mean, there's a million reasons why, excuse me, if I can get booked and not happen, from medicals to injuries to whatever else, and, yeah, like, he's
travel.
not wrong, though, like, there's a lot of guys out there looking for opportunities, and we're looking to give them all those opportunities. We're gonna do 5 shows again next year, but, if it's sustainable, we'd like to do more. It's just, there's the economics of it all as well, right? When we're putting on shows of this scale, they cost a fortune, and if we don't have the right amount of people show up every single time, that's obviously a problem as well. So tell your friends, if you guys wanna see more fighters fight, buy more tickets, and, we'll keep putting on more shows. It's that simple.
That's the thing. Our shows aren't going on in like a gymnasium or like it's our production and our shows. It's big production. So it's like John said, we need people to show up, and the best way you can do it is tell your friends and sell out that venue.
Yeah,
And that's a great word of advice, John, because you're selling out venues. We'll come back every month, no problem. It's everything's
yeah,
supply on demand, right? So
yeah, and I mean, it's
Tim,
it's not like we can bankroll this off of our other jobs, so Yeah, the Squirt No Talent T-shirt. FLA 2025
That's
Squirt
hilarious.
No Talent.
Since 2020, squirting out. Hilarious. All right.
That is hilarious.
Peace. We love
Timmy
you
B.
all. We appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, for
Absolutely.
supporting Fight League Land. Do inside the sport, online, inside the venue, wherever it is. We love you, and we'll see you at February 1st, 2025, FLA 18. Can't wait. Johnny,
Yeah.
see you later.
No, that's it, man. New schedule will be out soon. You know, we're working well ahead of things, like we said. And 2025 is shaping up again to just, you know, keep moving this thing forward, bigger and better, and you know, see the development of the athletes, the development of the teams, and the development of the sport in the Maritimes and in Canada as a whole, right? So that's what it's all about, guys. Like we're doing this together, and let's just keep it going, right? Everyone plays their role.
Mic drop. See ya.
Boom.
With a leg.